And Harrison, I'm curious, what players are you maybe wrestling with in regards to perception versus reality?
The one guy who I think immediately comes to mind to me when it's perception versus reality in the NFL and then in fantasy as well is Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was, before he even stepped on the field, heralded as top 5 tight end in the league. He's unbelievable. We've never seen anything like him. And then we've been making excuses for him his entire career, saying that, he's so unbelievable. Well, what if he just had a better coaching staff that featured him more? Or what if he had a better quarterback? Who is he better? Like Kelsey, Kittle, Darren Waller, and Mark Andrews, I think we can all universally accept that they are like the top 4 tight ends in the NFL. But is Kyle Pitts better than TJ Hawkinson or Dallas Goedert or Evan Ingram or Pat Freiermuth? All guys who have consistently outproduced him throughout their career. And you don't see people, making the same excuses for Freiermuth saying, oh, well, he had Big Ben in his last season and then Kenny Pickett as a rookie. Or with Dallas Goedert, he was playing with Carson Wentz and then rookie year Jalen Hurts. Obviously, last year, Jalen Hurts was much better than anything that Kyle Pitts has had in his career. But all these other tight ends have dealt with adversity as well and have produced so much more than Pitts has. But for some reason, we act like Pitts is this top tier NFL talent when we just haven't seen it yet. There's plenty of other guys who have been heralded as this super freak tight end prospect, like OJ Howard from a few years ago,
Yes.
or Eric Ebron, or even Noah Fant, who went a little bit later, that were just complete busts as well. But no one's making excuses for those guys, obviously, in their career. So when are we actually going to look at the reality of who Kyle Pitts is and realize, okay, yes, he's very talented, but he is not at that elite level yet. He's got to show it to us and actually prove that he is a top 5 tight end in the league.
You might have convinced me. I remember a couple of weeks ago on the show, I was waffling because I find myself open to the possibility of drafting Kyle Pitts because maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year. And I've convinced myself. But I think the case, you're right. The perception is, oh, this guy's unbelievable. And he's really not. And he hasn't been yet. He's still young. So there still is a chance. But yeah, we've been waiting for OJ Howard now he's been in the league 6-7 years. He's still in the league. I think I always see his name pop up every once in a while, but we're still waiting. Some other teams are still buying that. Yeah, OJ Howard, former 1st round pick from Alabama. He's going to be the guy. I don't think so. Doesn't seem like it. So Pitts, unfortunately, may be the case as well. So give me one more guy, perception versus reality.
So one more guy on a positive note here is David Montgomery. David Montgomery went to Detroit, and everyone was extremely excited in the offseason because you're bringing a guy who has been a top 5 fantasy running back on bad teams in Chicago and putting him on an incredible Detroit offense that values the running back position. Then they go out and draft Jahmyr Gibbs, and everyone just wants to forget about David Montgomery and not act like he was paid to be the guy to go into Detroit and lead that running back room. They drafted Gibbs to complement Montgomery, not to overtake him at all, because that's the type of player that Gibbs is. He's not going to be getting 20 carries a game. He's going to be a threat in the passing game, but there's plenty of opportunities for Montgomery to still be a top 10 fantasy running back there, which I know sounds crazy, but Jamal Williams finished as the RB7 last year with DeAndre Swift still on the team as well, getting touches. And I think David Montgomery is a much more talented back than Jamal Williams. And we obviously see that Detroit thinks that as well because they choose to let Jamal Williams go and pay David Montgomery instead. David Montgomery is being drafted as, in the RB20 range as sort of, oh, he's going to be solid, but the upside isn't there. I think the upside is absolutely there for David Montgomery to finish as a top 15 guy playing in the best offense of his career, behind the best offensive line of his career, and in an offense that last year led the league in running back fantasy points overall.
Wow. Harrison coming in hot to start this show because I am guilty as well of that false perception of David Montgomery because I've been a Khalil Herbert guy. So I always wanted to see Herbert take over Montgomery, get him out there. And all along the way, though, when Montgomery's been out there, he's produced. And that is the reality. But for whatever reason, we've just overlooked him. And I think you're right that we should not be surprised after 6 weeks to start the season if Montgomery's scoring a bunch of touchdowns, rushing for a ton of yards, and Gibbs is still doing great as a rookie and catching balls out of the backfield, but they're utilizing both of those guys. Because the thing for Detroit is Jared Goff will not run the ball at all, right? He is a statue back there. And so in today's NFL, we love certain offenses that have, a quarterback that can run and multiple running backs. Well, in Detroit, it's those two running backs. They've invested in both of them, high draft capital and money with Montgomery. And the crazy thing is they ran the ball so well last year. You mentioned Williams and then DeAndre Swift whenever healthy, but they went out and upgraded both those guys and went after, they traded up to get Gibbs and went after Montgomery. And both of those guys are going to be high producing contributors on a team that actually has a chance to win the division and carry the momentum from last year. So you've convinced me Montgomery is worth looking at. And my feeling is he'll slip in drafts. And I'm excited about that. So I'll add, but I also like Gibbs. And I'm just wondering how much I want to reach for Gibbs because he's electric. He can give you that 60-yard catch and run for a touchdown.